The Turkey Vulture. The pH scale runs from 0 to 14, and most of nature politely stays in the middle. The Turkey Vulture parks itself at 1. If you've driven past a roadkill deer this week, there's a bird that ate parts of that deer no other scavenger could touch, and walked away healthy. Its stomach acid has been measured at pH 1, roughly 10 times more aggressive than yours, and comparable to the kind of acid you'd find inside a car battery. The diet is carrion in any state of decay, including animals that died of disease, documented to neutralize anthrax spores, botulinum toxin, and the rabies virus during digestion. The bacterial load in their gut is among the lowest of any vertebrate scavenger, which is biology's polite way of saying the acid kills everything before bacteria get a vote. Despite the reputation, vultures aren't unclean. Turns out they're closer to walking incinerators than walking garbage trucks. The bald redhead is the giveaway, since feathers would just hold pathogens. Their digestive tract handles botulism the way a paper shredder handles a receipt. The Burmese Python. A python in the Everglades swallows a 6-foot alligator, lies still for a week, and by the end, there is no alligator. Not bones, not teeth, not scales. Your stomach can't even handle a bone shard from a chicken wing, but the python's stomach is empty most of its life. Then it turns on. And the chemistry that follows is something an organ shouldn't be capable of. Within 24 hours of swallowing prey, the pH crashes from around 7 to roughly 1.5. That's a 6-point swing, which means a million-fold increase in acidity, basically the difference between a wave and a tsunami. Digestion of large prey takes 4 to 6 days, hooves and bones included. The internal organs, heart, liver, intestines, all grow up to 40% larger during the process, and then shrink back down. Pythons run an on-demand chemistry because they eat infrequently. Building a constantly aggressive stomach would waste energy between meals. Better to switch the whole organ on like a circuit breaker. Somewhere in Florida right now, a python is becoming smaller, while the deer it ate becomes nothing. When digestion stops being chemistry and starts being demolition, the menu opens up in ways most stomachs can't survive. The Tasmanian Devil. Anyone who's watched a dog gnaw a bone for an hour knows bones don't break down easily. The Tasmanian Devil eats a whole kangaroo carcass in one sitting. Bones, fur, organs, hooves, and 48 hours later, none of it exists. There's a reason their droppings are white, and it's not what most people assume. Their bite force per body weight is one of the strongest in the entire mammal world, stronger than a lion's relative to body size. Stomach acid plus crushing jaws means they process the entire skeleton of prey, and the bones dissolve completely within roughly 2 days. The scat that comes out the other end is bone white because it's basically powdered calcium with a smell. Tasmania doesn't have many large scavengers. Devils handle carcasses fast and thoroughly, because the alternative is competing with maggots. The shrieking during feeding sounds like a horror movie sound effect, and that's the function, scaring other devils off. Their droppings look like chalk because that's basically what they are. If you're enjoying learning about creatures like this, I post new animal deep dives regularly, and subscribing really helps. Thanks. The Nile Crocodile. Picture a crocodile dragging an entire wildebeest into the river, swallowing it whole over hours, then floating still for 2 weeks. The wildebeest is being chemically erased the whole time, and the longer it sits, the harder the croc's stomach pumps. Most stomachs lose intensity after a meal. They dilute, they neutralize, they slow down. The crocodile's does the opposite. The pH drops below 2 during digestion, sometimes recorded near 1, and the acid output keeps rising over the first week. Bones, horns, hooves, all dissolved within days. The common version of this story is wrong, by the way. Crocodile stomachs aren't just scaled-up versions of other reptile stomachs. The acid-ramping behavior is unique to crocodilians. They can go up to a year between major meals, so the stomach is built for marathon digestion, not snacks. Reptilian metabolism is slow, so front-loading the acid would waste it on prey that hasn't been broken down yet. Ramping it up over time matches the chemistry to the timeline of the meal. The pH scale runs 0 to 14, and the Nile crocodile spends weeks parked just above 1. Somewhere in the Nile right now, A crocodile that ate 2 weeks ago is digesting harder than it was on day 1. The spotted hyena. Lions kill, eat what they want, and walk away from the bones. Hours later, a hyena clan moves in and finishes the entire skeleton. By morning, the only evidence the kill happened is a pile of white droppings. The reason those droppings are famously white connects directly to a stomach chemistry that mammalogists used to think was impossible. Their acid is powerful enough to dissolve the bone matrix entirely, not just gnaw through marrow. Hooves, teeth, horns, all go the same way as the meat. A lion's bite is around 650 psi. A hyena's is around 1100, and the bones the lion left behind are gone in hours, which is the part most people don't picture. Hyenas live in a savanna, where lions kill but don't finish meals. The leftover bones are nutrient-rich and uncontested. Getting to them requires jaws and acid that can finish what teeth started. So just to recap, their entire ecological niche is converting other predators' garbage into nutrition. Nice work. The most accurate way to describe hyena droppings is calcium dust with a smell. The tiger shark. Researchers have pulled license plates, tires, suits of armor, and at least one chicken coop from the stomachs of tiger sharks. The contents always make the news. The story nobody tells is what happens to those items if the shark doesn't get cut open in time. There's a list of things found inside tiger shark stomachs, and a separate list of things that simply disappeared. Stomach pH is measured below 2. And the diet runs from sea turtles and swordfish to seabirds, smaller sharks, and marine mammals. They process a sea turtle shell over the course of a few days. A turtle shell is keratin and bone fused together, structurally similar to industrial-grade plastic, harder than concrete in compression tests. Their stomach treats it like a candy wrapper. The bones of marine mammals dissolve so fully that researchers identify shark stomach contents by trace DNA, not by skeleton. Turns out the garbage can of the sea reputation isn't about being stupid. They eat indiscriminately because their stomachs can, and the brain doesn't need to be involved much. Whatever's missing from your local beach is probably halfway through digesting. The line between food and weapon turns out to be a pH reading, and these animals keep moving it lower. The Komodo Dragon. For decades, every nature documentary repeated the same story. Komodo dragons hunt by biting prey and waiting for the bacteria in their mouths to kill it. That story was wrong. The real chemistry is messier and meaner, and a correction came out of an anatomy study about 15 years back that rewrote the ecology of an island predator. Stomach acid is measured at low pH, estimated around 1.5. The saliva contains actual venom glands that produce anticoagulants, not just bacteria. It's not bacteria, it's venom plus acid plus jaws that tear flesh apart. The jaw rips, the venom drops blood pressure, and the stomach acid finishes everything left over. Most of nature stays politely in the middle of the pH scale. The Komodo's stomach lives just above 1. A single meal can be up to 80% of body weight, digested over days, and the carrion route works just as well as the live kill, because the acid kills whatever bacteria the saliva missed. Scientists studied this animal for 40 years before they figured out what it actually was. Reassuring. 40 years of nature documentaries owe this animal an apology. The Bearded Vulture. Most scavengers leave bones behind. The Bearded Vulture shows up after everyone else has finished, and the bones are exactly what it came for. There's one bird whose diet is more than 80% bone, and the chemistry that handles that is not subtle. Up to 90% of the diet is bone, the highest ratio in any bird. The stomach acid sits at a pH near 1, designed to dissolve marrow and bone fragments. Some of the bones it swallows are the length of its own body. The bones too big to swallow whole get dropped from up to 100 feet onto rocks to crack them open, and the acid handles the pieces. Somewhere along the line, nature decided the leftover bones nobody else wanted were worth specializing for, then added a flight-based tool-use behavior to the package. Bold. The orange-stained chest feathers come from bathing in iron-rich dust, which makes it the only animal known to use cosmetic plumage staining. So the diet is bone, the method is gravity, and the look is dyed. It's the only bird whose hunting technique is gravity. The King Vulture. A rainforest carcass goes through stages. Other scavengers take the early stages. By the time the rot is so far along that flies have abandoned it, one bird shows up. The king in King Vulture isn't a personality trait. It's an anatomical fact about what its stomach can survive. Stomach pH sits near 1.2. The bare orange-pink head and neck have no feathers, which is pure surface for acid splashback from feeding to evaporate off without growing bacteria. The bird also runs a higher body temperature than most birds, which helps break down infectious agents internally. Other scavengers tap out within 48 hours of death. King vultures process carcasses up to a week into decomposition, and pathogens that would kill almost any other vertebrate just get neutralized. Rainforest decomposition runs fast, and the niche of very late-stage carrion specialist is small but unoccupied for most birds. Most of nature stays in the middle of the pH scale. The king vulture parks itself near 1, and the rainforest's worst doesn't bother it. By the time the king arrives, the food is so far gone that arriving is the meal. Stomach acid stopped being a digestive tool a long time ago for these animals. It became the immune system, the lock, and the key. The Frigatebird. Most birds defend their nests with noise or beaks. Frigatebirds throw up on intruders. Specifically, they project a stream of corrosive stomach contents several feet, and what comes out is not breakfast. There's a defensive behavior shared by exactly one group of seabirds, and the chemistry behind it is more aggressive than people assume. Stomach pH sits below 2, comparable to other seabirds with acidic stomachs. The fluid that comes out is part acid, part partially digested fish, and both halves are unpleasant. Frigatebirds are also kleptoparasites, which means they harass other seabirds into vomiting up their food, then catch it mid-air. The same biological tool is both their defense and their pantry. Seabirds nest in cliffs where eggs and chicks are vulnerable, and the adults can't be everywhere. Producing an aerosol acid defense is cheap insurance, since even if a predator survives the encounter, it doesn't come back. Humans handling baby frigatebirds wear ponchos for a reason. So just to recap, the bird produces a corrosive weapon, weaponizes other birds' digestion, and parents by chemistry. Cool. Whatever lands on a frigatebird's enemy is not a warning. It's a finished argument. The sperm whale. A sperm whale eats giant squid in the deepest parts of the ocean, the kind with eyes the size of dinner plates. Stomach acid handles almost everything else the whale eats. It doesn't handle the beaks. There is exactly one substance the entire pH as weapon strategy fails on, and the failure produces something that's been worth more than gold for centuries. Sperm whales eat hundreds of squid per day, mostly at depths below 3,000 feet, and the squid beaks are made of chitin and protein, resistant to most digestive acids. The beaks accumulate in the intestinal tract. Over years, they bind with intestinal secretions to form ambergris, a waxy substance that can sell for tens of thousands of dollars per pound. Scientists have studied ambergris for centuries, and the cleanest summary is that it's a digestive failure that turned into perfume-grade currency. The hardest substance for stomach acid to break down turns out to be one of the most common foods for the largest-brained animal on Earth. Somewhere along the line, biology decided this particular failure was worth keeping. Bold move. The most powerful stomach acid on Earth, defeated by a squid mouth, accidentally producing a substance that perfumers would commit crimes for. The pH scale runs from 0 to 14, and most of nature politely stays in the middle. These animals parked themselves at 1. And even at 1, the universe keeps a few things that simply won't dissolve. I post new animal deep dives every week, so hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.